Good evening, everyone. Good evening. My name's Bryan Doerries. I'm the artistic director of Theater of War Productions. I'm here with 8 actors on stage and about 20 in the audience. And then you're going to be part of tonight's performance as well. I didn't know if you got the memo, but everyone here is going to be part of the performance. And we're so thrilled to be presenting An Enemy of the People, Extinction Rebellion here in Times Square on the Red Steps. Thank you all so much for coming out. Before I introduce the actors and say a little bit about tonight's event, I just want to say that tonight's event wouldn't have happened had we not received a phone call shortly after premiering a project based on Enemy of the People in Washington, D.C. from Extinction Rebellion. And they said, hey, would you like to create a production of Extinction Rebellion, of An Enemy of the People together? And we said instantaneously, yes. And here we are after looking for a space. Can you hear me? After looking, this is how close we have to stay on our mics, apparently.
Hello.
After looking for a space throughout the city that would host this glorious event, we came across the Times Square Alliance, which generously opened their doors to us and gave us the Red Steps. So I want to thank the Times Square Alliance, thank Extinction Rebellion, and thank all the partner organizations who are here with us tonight, tabling with resources on the other side of Father Duffy's statue. So here's how tonight's event is going to work. These actors behind me, I'll just quickly introduce them. On the far right is Peter Marks. We have Taylor Schilling, Kathryn Erbe, J.O. Sanders, Bill Murray, Peter Francis James, Zach Grenier, and our city's public advocate, Jumaane Williams. These actors are part of a much larger company of over 250 actors who, when they get the call, do you want to get up at the crack of dawn and perform on a military base or a homeless shelter or in the middle of a public park, they jump because they know there's nothing more important they could be doing with their time than what we're doing with you over the next couple of hours here in this space. But it's your presence, your participation, your attention in the middle of Times Square that imbues this event with meaning. So thank you so much for that in advance. What the actors are going to do is they're going to read 2 acts from Henrik Ibsen's 1882 play, An Enemy of the People. We asked you to listen to the acts, to take them in, to note words, phrases, moments that resonate with you in the present moment here in Times Square. And then as soon as they're done, they're going to go off the stage and be replaced by 5 members of the New York City community representing a variety of different perspectives. And they're going to come up and respond from their guts to what they heard and saw in the play that spoke to them, that resonated with their experiences. And then as soon as they're done with their brief opening remarks, I'm going to come out to you with microphones. I don't actually know how we're going to do it. I'm going to crowd surf up to the back, but we're going to come out with microphones and we're going to ask you questions about how it resonated with you tonight. We have more than 2,000 people watching on Zoom from all over the planet tonight. So Times Square is the town hall where we're having this hyper-local conversation that's global in scope. Some of our most recent events have had as many as 87 countries tuning in, and we'll be bringing people on these monitors behind us and the other side, those watching, into the space with us. We'll hear from people on other parts of the planet. We'll hear from you. We'll move through a series of themes, and then we'll all go home. Actually, before we go home, we're going to have one final opportunity for collective action that won't be necessarily a protest, but it'll be a culminating event that could involve everyone here. And then we ask you to make sure to engage with the organizations on the way out that have resources, the 6 organizations on the way out, and talk to XR greeters and folks who are here from XR. And really, the invitation to all of you who are here tonight is to be yourselves and to come as yourselves. No one's going to police you. No one's going to silence you. In fact, we welcome your participation throughout the entire event. I would be remiss if I didn't quickly thank Marjolaine Goldsmith, who's in the booth over here. She invented our whole form on Zoom, this hybrid form that we're now performing. And she is running this from behind the scenes, but we wouldn't be here without Marjolaine and our tech collaborators, Boulevard Carol, these 4 cameras around the space that'll be broadcasting all over the planet. So without further ado, here's what you need to know about Act 2 from Henrik Ibsen's The Enemy of the People. We're dropping you into the 2nd act of the play. The play was written in 1882 by Ibsen. It's set in a rural Norwegian village, on a coastal village, and the protagonist of the play, Dr. Thomas Stockman, had this idea. Let's turn this small rural community into a health spa. Let's take the healing and purifying waters of the springs and rivers of this town and invite people from all over Europe and all over the world to come and be part of this healing experience in our town. And so he lobbied with his brother, who, the mayor of this town, and other members of the powers that be within this town to build this spa. And he was named by his brother the chief medical officer of the spa. And for a while, the idea of the spa, the first year of the spa, it took off, and people came from all over the world to be healed. This is the late 19th century. There aren't a lot of medical treatments for some of the things that ail us today, and so people came to be healed. But then Dr. Stockman saw signs in the water that made him think that maybe it wasn't so pure. And he started to see that perhaps in the water were impurities and bacteria that were coming from tanneries up the river that were poisoning the water supply coming into the spa. And he started to realize that maybe they weren't bringing people to be healed, but that he were sickening the people who were coming to their town. And so Dr. Stockman took samples of this water and sent it off to a laboratory, and the laboratory results came back unequivocally exactly what he suspected. The water supply has been poisoned. And so before the second act begins, Dr. Stockman sends his report to his brother, the mayor, Peter Stockman. And as this act begins, it takes place in Stockman's parlor room. It's hard to do 19th century naturalism, parlor room naturalism in the Red Steps. So we ask your forbearance and your attention, because the second half of what we're going to perform is a town hall scene that's much more raucous. But I was thinking about the opportunity to do this with you all tonight for a long time, and thinking about what does consciousness look like? And maybe what it looks like is all of us training our attention on something important in the center of Times Square, surrounded by all of this. So we look for your attention, for your participation, for your consciousness as we listen to the actors read the first of the two acts. We're going to drop you right into the first of the two acts, which is Act 2. As soon as it's over, I'll come out and set up Act 4 and invite you to participate in Act 4 as the members of the crowd. So without further ado, I'm going to turn things over to our amazing actors and their reading of Act 2 from Henrik Ibsen's An Enemy of the People. Thank you so much.
Are you there, Thomas?
Yes, I just got in. What is it?
A letter from your brother.
Let's see what he has to say. Please find the manuscript you sent me enclosed herewith.
So, what does he say?
Nothing. Just that he'll come around by around noon.
Then you should remember to be here when he comes.
Oh, yeah. Well, that shouldn't be a problem. I've already finished my morning house calls.
I'll be very curious to see how he takes the news.
Well, he won't be ecstatic. That much I know, since I'm the one who made the discovery, not him.
That's what I'm afraid of.
Deep down, of course, he'll be pleased and no doubt relieved. But still, Peter is so damn stubborn. In his mind, he's the only person allowed to do anything good for the town.
You know what, Thomas? Maybe you should just be gracious and share the honor with him. Couldn't you say he steered you in the right direction?
Yes, fine. I couldn't care less, as long as I can straighten things out.
Is it true?
Father, what are you doing here?
Good morning, Morton. Good morning.
Well, don't just stand there. Come in.
If it's true, I'm coming. If it's not, I'm out of here.
If what's true?
This lunacy about the water supply.
Oh.
Now, is it true or isn't it true?
Of course it's true. How did you hear about it?
Oh, Petra stopped by on her way to school.
Oh, did she now?
Yeah. She was in a hurry, but she told me all about it. At first, I thought she was messing with me, but that's not like Petra.
No, it certainly isn't. Now, why would you even think that?
Oh, you can never trust anybody these days. Before you know it, you'll be the punchline of all the jokes in town. So, is it really true?
Morton, please sit down. I am telling you, it is true, without question. Now, don't you think it's a blessing for the town?
A blessing for the town?
That I made this discovery in time.
No, I never believed you could play a prank like this. And on your own brother.
A prank?
Father, dear.
What was it again? How did it go? Something about animals?
Yes.
That got into the water pipes?
They are called infusoria.
Right. And a shockingly large number of these critters got in. Swarms of them, according to Petra.
Correct. Hundreds of thousands of them, maybe more.
But no one can see them, right?
Right. They're invisible to the naked eye.
Well, I'll be damned if this isn't the best thing you've come up with yet.
What do you mean?
But you'll never get the mayor to fall for it. Not for a single second.
Well, we'll just have to see about that.
Do you really think that he's that insane?
I'm hoping the whole town will be that insane.
The whole town? Well, maybe it will. Just maybe. But that would serve them right, wouldn't it? Teach them a lesson. They thought they were so much smarter than us old-timers. Kicked me out of the city council. It was a witch hunt, I tell you. But now it's their turn. They'll get what's coming. Just keep playing your little game, Stockman.
Yes, but Morton...
Keep up the monkey business, I say. And if you can get the mayor and his cronies to fall for it, publicly humiliating them all, I'll give you 100 crowns for the poor.
That's very generous of you.
As you know, I don't have much to spare, but if you can pull this off, Stockman, I'll give 50 crowns to the poor at Christmas time.
Good morning. My apologies.
No. Come in.
Ah, is he in on it too?
What do you mean?
Of course he is.
Ah, yes, I should have guessed. You're gonna print it in the papers. You're a hero, Stockman. A true hero. Don't let me get in the way. I'm leaving you two to plot your scheme.
Don't go, Morton. Stay a bit longer.
No, I'll be going. Concoct all the conspiracies you can think of. They may have knocked me down, but I'm not out. At least not yet.
Can you believe it, Hofstad? The old man doesn't buy a word of this business about the water supply.
Was that what you were talking about?
Indeed, that's what we were discussing, and I imagine that's why you've come, too.
Yes. Do you have a few minutes, Doctor?
As many as you need, my friend.
Have you heard anything from the mayor?
Not yet, but he'll be on his way over shortly.
I've given the matter a great deal of thought since we spoke last night.
And?
To you as a doctor and a man of science, this business with the water supply seems like an isolated issue. I suspect it hasn't even occurred to you that it might be tied up with many other things?
Ah, yeah. In what way? Well, let's sit down, my friend, shall we? No, they're on the sofa. Now, what? So you were saying?
Yesterday, you said that the water supply was contaminated by impurities in the soil.
Yes, exactly. The source is undoubtedly that toxic swamp up in Milldale.
Pardon me, Doctor, but I believe the source of the pollution to be an entirely different swamp.
Oh, and what swamp would that be?
The swamp in which our city is now rotting.
The hell are you talking about, Hofstad?
The town's affairs have all drifted little by little into the hands of a pack of bureaucrats.
Oh, come on, they're not all bureaucrats.
No, but those who aren't bureaucrats are either followers or friends of those who are. Look, our government is run by a small group of wealthy men from old families. They are the ones who control us.
Yes, but they also govern with skill and insight.
Oh, did they display skill and insight when they laid the water pipes where they currently are?
No, that was obviously a huge mistake, one that will soon be corrected.
Do you really think it will go that smoothly?
Well, smoothly or not, it will have to be addressed.
Yes, as long as the press plays its part.
Oh, I highly doubt that will be necessary. My brother will...
Pardon me again, Doctor, but I plan to take this matter up.
In the paper?
Yes. When I took over the People's Messenger, I was determined to blow up this ring of obstinate, pig-headed old men who pull all the levers of power.
But you said yourself it almost ruined the paper.
Yes, it's true. At the time, we had to pull back and retract much of what we put in print. There was a fear that the health spa scheme would collapse if these men were taken down by the paper. But now that the spa exists, we can finally be done with these noble gentlemen.
Be done with them. I guess, but we still owe them a great debt.
Which will be properly acknowledged in due course. But as a journalist who represents the voice of the people, I cannot let an opportunity like this slip from my fingers. We must shatter the notion that our public officials are infallible and beyond reproach. It is our duty to dispose of it like every other superstition.
Oh, now there we agree, Mr. Hofstad. I wholeheartedly believe that superstitions should all be routed out.
It would be a shame to attack the mayor. I mean, he is your brother after all, but I'm sure you'll agree that the truth should come first before any other consideration.
Well, yes, of course I do, but...
Please don't judge me, sir. I'm no more self-absorbed or calculating than most people these days.
Oh, who would even think such a thing, my friend?
I come from humble stock, as you know. and I've had many opportunities to see firsthand what those in the lower rungs of our society need most. And that, Doctor, is a share in the running of our public affairs. That is what develops competence and knowledge and self-respect in people.
I understand that completely, but...
Yes, and I believe that a journalist carries a heavy burden of responsibility whenever he wastes an opportunity to help liberate the oppressed and downtrodden masses. I know full well that those in power will brand my actions agitation and worse. Let them say whatever they please about me. What do I care? As long as my conscience is clear, I don't mind...
Yes, Mr. Hofstad, but still... God damn it. Come in.
Please, pardon me, Doctor, for being so bold.
Well, if it isn't Mr. Aslaksen, publisher of the People's Messenger.
Yes, Doctor, it is.
Are you here for me, Aslaksen?
No, I didn't know you were here. It was the doctor himself.
Well, what can I do for you?
Is it true what Mr. Billing told me that you intend to get us a better water system?
Yes, for the spa.
I see, yes. Well, then I just came by to convey my full support. I will do everything in my power to help you ensure your success.
You see?
Thank you for your kind offer, but
Yes, you see, you might find it helpful to have the backing of us tradesmen. We form a solid majority in this town. That is, when we choose to throw our collective weight behind something, and it's always good to have the majority on your side, Doctor.
Oh, of course. But I just can't imagine that any special measures will be necessary in this instance. It's such a clear, uncomplicated issue.
Even so, it might give you some leverage. It certainly wouldn't hurt. I know the local authorities quite well. Those holding power are never eager to bend to the suggestions of outsiders, and that is why it would be wholly appropriate, I think, for us to hold a demonstration of sorts.
Exactly what I was thinking.
Oh, I know. A demonstration, really? And how would you demonstrate?
Oh, with great temperance, Doctor. As you know, I hold temperance in the highest regard and work diligently to pursue it in all things. For temperance is the chief virtue of the average citizen, at least in my opinion.
Yes, we all know your feelings on that subject, Mr. Aslaksen.
I should hope so. I think my commitment to temperance is widely acknowledged. And this question about the water supply is of the utmost importance to us small tradesmen. The spa has the potential of turning this town into a little gold mine. It is the engine of our economy, ushering in a new standard of living, especially for those of us who own homes. So we are eager to give the spa our unwavering support. And as chairman of the Homeowners Association... And as officer of the Temperance Society, as you know, Doctor, I stand on the side of temperance.
At this point, Mr. Aslaksen, I think that goes without saying.
Well, as you might imagine, I meet a lot of people through that cause, and people they know me to be a sensible and law-abiding citizen. Now, as you said yourself, Doctor, I have a certain influence in this town, and I might add a small amount of power.
Yeah, no, I'm fully aware of that, Mr. Aslaksen.
Well, then you are also aware that it would be easy for me to gather signatures, if need be.
Signatures?
Yes, for a petition from the citizens of this town to thank you for bringing this important matter to the attention of the public. Of course, it would have to be written thoughtfully and with temperance so as not to offend the authorities or those in positions of power. But as long as we're careful in how we construct it, no one will question our integrity, I think.
Well, even if they don't like what it says...
No. We will not do anything that will offend those in power, Mr. Hofstad. No opposition to the people who can take away what little power we currently possess. I've had enough of that in my time. Nothing good ever comes of it. But no one can deny the citizen's fundamental right to express his opinion freely but sensibly, with moderation.
I can't tell you, dear Mr. Aslaksen, how much I appreciate the support of my fellow citizens. I am overwhelmed with joy. Come, let's have a toast. You'll have a glass of sherry with me, no?
Oh, no, thank you. I never touch spirits.
Oh, then how about a glass of beer? What do you say?
Oh, no, not that either, Doctor. But thanks, I never drink anything, especially this early in the day. I'll go now and talk with some of the homeowners around town and beginning laying the groundwork.
That's really very kind of you, Mr. Aslakson, but it's hard for me to believe that these tactics will be necessary. The issue seems to me to be straightforward and undeniable.
Government officials always move slowly, Doctor. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we should blame them.
We'll light a fire under them all in the paper tomorrow, Aslakson.
There will be no violence, Mr. Hofstad. We must proceed with temperance or we'll lose their support right out of the gates. And you can take my word for it, I have learned on many hard-won lessons in the school of life. And now it's time for me to say goodbye, Doctor. You now have the backing of us tradesmen, a small but loyal majority that will stand on your side, solid as a wall.
And you have my thanks, Mr. Aslakson. Goodbye.
Are you coming back to the office, Mr. Hofstad?
Later this afternoon. I still have a few things to wrap up.
Okay, fine. See you then.
But what do you say to that, Doctor? Don't you think it's high time we shake things up and give all this weak-kneed, half-hearted cowardice a swift kick in the pants?
Are you talking about Aslakson?
Yes, I am. He's a good man who means well, but his feet are stuck in the swamp just like most of the other people in this town. They flip and they flop and they move from this side to the other, completely risk-averse and wavering with so much trepidation they never dare to step in any direction.
Yes, but Aslakson really seems to have good intentions.
It would be better if he had a backbone and stood with self-assurance behind his convictions.
There we agree completely.
Then I'm going to seize this opportunity to get these people with all their good intentions to finally do something. The worship of authority must be eliminated from this town. This blatant, unforgivable oversight involving our water supply must be brought to the attention of every eligible voter.
Very well, very well. If you think it's for the good of the community, so be it. But not until I've spoken with my brother.
I'll go draft an editorial spelling it all out, and if the mayor doesn't wish to take the matter up...
Oh, why would you even think that?
I think it's a real possibility, and if it is...
Then I promise you, look right here. I will let you publish my full report, just as it is, without edits or redactions.
Really?
Yes.
Is that a promise?
There. It's in your hands now. Take it with you. Irrespective of what happens, you might as well read it. You can return it when you're done.
Very good. I certainly will. Goodbye, Doctor.
Goodbye, Mr. Hofstad. You'll see. It'll all go smoothly. As smoothly as it can.
Yeah, I guess we'll see.
Kathryn! Oh, you're back, Petra.
Yes, I'm just back from school.
Hasn't he been here yet?
My brother, no, but we've been having a long talk with Hofstad. He's very impressed by what I discovered. Turns out it's of much larger significance than I originally thought. So he has placed his paper at my disposal, should it be necessary.
And will it be necessary?
No, of course not, but still, it's a real shot in the arm to know that the independent, liberal-minded press is on my side. And if you can believe it, I even had a visit from the chairman of the Homeowners Association.
Is that so? What did he want?
Well, to offer his support as well. They'll all have my back if things get ugly. Kathryn, do you know what I have behind me?
Behind you? No. What do you have behind
The
you?
solid majority.
I see. And is that good for you, Thomas?
Well, yes, I should think so. Very good indeed. God, it's so deeply gratifying to feel connected with fellow citizens in such a brotherly way.
And to do so much good and be of use, Father.
Yes, and all of my hometown.
That was the doorbell.
Oh, must be my brother. Come in.
Good morning.
Great to see you, Peter.
Good morning, Peter. How are things at City Hall these days?
Just okay. Thanks for asking. Last night after office hours, I received a very lengthy report from you on the state of the spa's water supply.
Yes, and have you read it?
I have.
Uh-huh. And what did you think of my findings?
Petra.
Was it necessary to pursue these investigations behind my back?
Yes, until I was completely certain.
And are you completely
My
certain?
report speaks for itself. Didn't you find it convincing?
Is it your intention to submit your report to the SPA's board of directors as an official document?
Well, of course. Something must be done about the situation, and right away.
You use very dramatic language in your report, as usual. Among other things, you say that what we offer spa visitors is a slow, insidious poisoning.
But Peter, how else can we describe it? Just think for a moment. Water that is poisonous when ingested or when it touches the skin. And these sick, afflicted people come here in good faith, seeking better health, paying us enormous sums of money, I might add, to help cure them of their illnesses.
And then you have the audacity to proclaim in your concluding statement that we must build a new sewer system to drain away the so-called hazardous waste from Milldale.
Yeah.
And then relay all of our water pipes.
Yes, do you know a better solution? I, for one, do not.
I made up an excuse to visit the city engineers this morning and half-jokingly mentioned these upgrades and improvements as things we should think about considering at some point in the future.
At some point in the future?
And he, of course, smiled at my apparent extravagance. Have you taken the trouble to consider how much your proposed overhaul would cost? From what I gathered from the engineer, it would probably amount to 100,000 crowns or more.
That much?
Yes. That's not even the worst part. You ready for it? The work would take more than 2 years to complete.
2 years. Wait a minute. 2 whole years?
At least. And what would we do with the spa during that time? Shutter it? We'd have no choice. Do you think anyone will ever come here again once word gets out that the water could be toxic?
But Peter, the water is toxic.
And all of this just now, at this perfect moment, right when the spa is starting to thrive. Many of the surrounding towns are well positioned to brand themselves as health resorts. Do you think any of them will hesitate to capitalize on our misfortune and lure our paying customers away to their rivers and springs? Without question, they will do this. And we will be left in the lurch. We'll end up having to close the spa permanently due to all the costs. And then you will have successfully ruined your own hometown.
I will have ruined... Oh.
Surely you comprehend, Thomas, that this spa is the future of this town, or the only future worth mentioning. You must understand that, like I do.
Then what do you think should be done?
I am not entirely convinced by your report that the condition of the water is as dangerous as you say.
If anything, it's worse, I tell you. Or it will be this summer when the temperature starts to rise.
And I say again that you are blowing things out of proportion. A competent physician understands where he fits within the system and acts in accordance with certain standards and norms. And if he prescribes a course of action, he should know how to prevent the kind of negative side effects that have the potential of harming or even killing the patient.
And so?
At the end of the day, the existing water supply is what it is. That's just an undeniable fact. But in the due course of time, I am sure the board of directors will be open to considering whether it might be possible within appropriate fiscal limits to begin introducing certain improvements.
And you think I'll lend my name to such shameless deception?
Shameless deception.
Yes, deception. It would be a fraud, a lie, an atrocity, an unforgivable crime against the people, against our entire society.
As I said before, I am not convinced, nor have I been able to convince myself, that there is any real or impending danger.
Yes, you have. Yet there's no other possible conclusion. And you know it. My report couldn't be more clear-cut or convincing. You understand the situation perfectly, Peter, but won't say it out loud. Because it was you who lobbied, quite forcefully, I might add, to place the spa and the water pipes where they are now. A major mistake, which you now refuse to acknowledge. I mean, come on, don't you know I can see straight through you?
Even if that's true, even if I am a bit overprotective when it comes to my reputation, it's for a reason. Without moral authority, I cannot lead the people or direct affairs in the way I consider most beneficial to the health of the community. And because of this, and for many other reasons, it is of utmost importance to me that your report does not get delivered to the board of directors. We must bury it for the good of the people. Later on, when the time is right, I will bring the issue up for debate and discussion, and we'll do our best to address it quietly and discreetly. But for now, not a single word, not a whisper about this unhappy business must reach the ears of the people.
But it can't be stopped, Peter.
It must and shall be stopped.
And I'm telling you, it's just not, that's not possible. There are far too many people who know about it at this point.
Know about it? Who knows about it? Please don't tell me that you spoke with those newsmen from the People's Messenger.
Oh, yes, they definitely know. The independent liberal press will ensure you do your duty.
You are an incredibly reckless man, Thomas. Have you thought about the consequences that might arise from this for you?
What consequences? For me?
Yes, for you and your family.
What the hell are you saying, Peter?
Haven't I always been there for you whenever you needed a hand?
Yes, you have, and I thank you for it.
I don't ask for your thanks. In most cases, I was forced to act to a certain extent in my own self-interest. I always hoped that by helping improve your financial position, I would be able to keep you reasonably in check.
What, you did it for yourself?
To a certain extent, I said. It can be more than a little embarrassing for a public official to constantly be cleaning up after his closest relative who compromises himself again and again.
And that's what you think I do? I compromise myself?
Yes, I'm afraid you do without knowing it. You have a rebellious, recalcitrant, sometimes even explosive nature, along with a disastrous impulse to rush your opinions into print whenever you feel so moved. The minute an idea occurs to you, you feel the need to write an article about it in the paper or publish a pamphlet for public distribution.
It is the duty of every citizen when he has a new idea to share it with the public.
Oh. The public has no need for new ideas, I assure you. The public does best with the good old-fashioned established ideas, the ones that have worked just fine in the past.
And you can actually look at me and say that with a straight face?
Yes. I am speaking straight with you today, something I have avoided doing in the past, given your temper. But I feel compelled to tell you the truth, Thomas. You have absolutely no idea how much you've hurt yourself with your sanctimony and officious behavior. You're always complaining about the authorities, yes, and even the government, shouting us all down, swearing that you've been overlooked and persecuted. But what else do you expect? A man as exhausting as you.
Oh, so I'm exhausting now, am I?
Yes, Thomas, you are exhausting and nearly impossible to work with. Trust me, I have plenty of experience. You always place your own concerns before all others, and you seem to have even forgotten that without my recommendation, you wouldn't even be the spa's chief medical officer.
Oh, the job was rightfully mine. It belonged to no one else, and you know it. I was the first to see the town's true potential as a world-class health spa. I was the only one in the beginning who saw its healing properties of the water here. And for years, I fought for the idea all on my own, like a lone voice in the wilderness. I wrote and wrote.
Yes, but the timing wasn't right. Not that you could have been expected to understand this, given where you lived, off in the middle of nowhere. As soon as the conditions were favorable, I and the others took matters into our own hands.
Yes, and you completely mishandled my glorious plan. Oh, it's very easy to see what wise and visionary leaders you all were.
And it's very easy to see that you're itching for a fight, a place to put all your unjustified rage. You want to take down your superiors. It's an old habit of yours. And you just can't bear the thought of anyone having authority over you. You look down your nose at any official who holds a higher position than you, and you see him as your personal enemy. And somehow in your mind that gives you a full license to use whatever weapon you choose against him. But I've educated you on what is at stake for the town, and consequently for me as well. And so I am warning you, Thomas. I am unshakable in my resolve to make this demand of you.
Demand? What demand?
Since you have not exercised discretion or refrained from running your mouth in front of outsiders about this delicate matter, which should have remained restricted as part of the spa's official business, we cannot simply sweep it under the rug now. All kinds of rumors will soon spread throughout the region and even overseas, and those of us who those who wish to do us wrong will invent all sorts of embellishments and additions. Consequently, it will be crucial for you to publicly refute these rumors yourself.
What, me? No, come on. What? I don't understand.
Upon further investigation, you will conclude this matter is nowhere near as serious or as dangerous as you originally imagined.
Ah, I see. So that's what you expect me to do.
Yes. I also expect that you will express your full confidence in the board of directors and their ability to thoroughly and conscientiously make the necessary changes to address the issue and put it to rest.
You'll never be able to accomplish this as long as you keep patching and covering things up. I am telling you, Peter, this is my deepest and most heartfelt conviction.
As a member of the SPA staff, you have no right to hold an individual conviction.
No, right?
As a paid staff member, that's all I'm saying. Now, as a private citizen, of course, that's another matter completely. But as a subordinate officer of the SPA, you have no right to express any convictions that are at odds with those of your superiors.
Now you've crossed the line. That I, as a doctor, a man of science, have no right...
The matter at hand is not exclusively a scientific one. It's far more complicated than that and interdependent. It's both technical and has economic dimensions that must be considered.
I don't give a rat's ass how you describe it. I will freely speak my mind about any subject I wish.
Absolutely. Of course. Just not about the SPA. We forbid you to interfere.
Forbid me? Who forbids me? You and those...
I forbid you. I, your highest ranking superior, and when I give you a direct order, you had better obey it.
By God, Peter, if you weren't my brother...
You're not going to stand for this, are you, Father?
Petra!
Ah, I see you've been listening in.
The wall is so thin, we couldn't help but hearing.
I listened on purpose.
Well, I can't say I'm sorry you did. I wanted you to hear every word.
You just spoke to me using words such as forbid and obey.
You gave me no choice but to use those words.
And I'm supposed to make a public statement retracting my findings and selling your lie?
We consider it non-negotiable that you make a public statement in accordance with the terms I have just outlined.
And if I choose not to obey?
Then we will put out a statement of our own to reassure the public.
Then I will write a counter statement exposing the whole story and proving my point that I am right and you are wrong. Then what will you do?
Then I will be unable to prevent your dismissal.
What?
Father! Dismissal!
Dismissal!
Your dismissal from the SPA as our chief medical officer. I will be forced to request your immediate termination, removing you from all SPA-related activities going forward.
And you would dare to do this?
You are the one playing games, Thomas. Go ahead. Dare me, see what happens.
Uncle Peter! This is such a shameful way to treat a man like my father.
Be quiet, Petra.
Aha. So we're already forming opinions of our own, are we? I'm not surprised, not one bit. Kathryn, You always seem like the most sensible member of this family. I strongly urge you to marshal all of your influence over your husband. Get him to listen to reason. Help him comprehend what this will mean both for his family.
My family is my business, and mine alone.
As I was saying, both for his family and for the town he lives in.
I am the one who cares about the town and knows what's best for it. I want to reveal the evil secrets that one way or another will eventually come to light. That's right, you'll see. You will see how much I love my hometown.
Through blind obstinance, you will cut off the town's main source of income, destroying its livelihood.
The source is poisoned, man! Have you lost your mind? Our livelihood is mired in corruption and the trafficking of toxic sludge. Our city's prosperity is rooted in mendacity. It's all been built upon a lie.
These are your fantasies, or perhaps your fabrications. The man who hurls such offensive allegations at his own hometown must be an enemy of society.
How dare you?
Thomas.
Settle down, Father. It's not worth it.
I'm not going to stay here and subject myself to violence. You have been warned. Think about the welfare of your family as well as your own. Goodbye.
And I'm supposed to just take it and put up with that kind of treatment in my own home? What do you have to say about that, Kathryn?
It's shameful, Thomas. A complete disgrace.
Oh, if I could just get my hands on him, I'd strangle him myself.
I only have myself to blame. I should have stood up to them many years ago, baring my fangs and biting them where it hurts. And to be called enemy of society? Me? I won't stand for it. By God, I won't.
But Thomas, dear, your brother has all the power.
Yes, but I have righteousness on my side.
What good is righteousness when you have no power?
Oh, Mother, how can you talk that way?
What are you saying? That in a free society it doesn't matter if you're right? That's absurd, Kathryn. Truly laughable. Anyway, no, it's not like I don't have the liberal independent press in my corner. Or the solid majority behind me. That's plenty of power, I think.
My God, Thomas, surely you aren't thinking of...
What? Tell me. What am I not thinking of doing?
Of publicly opposing your brother, I meant to say.
What the hell else would you have me do but stand resolutely for what is right and true?
Yes, my question exactly.
But it's all pointless. If they won't, they won't.
Ho, Kathryn. Just you wait. And you will see how I will finish the fight.
Yes, your career will be finished. That is what will happen, plain and simple.
Well, at least I will have done my duty for the public, for society itself. That's right, I am the one who will do it. The man they have branded an enemy of society.
But Thomas, what about your duty to your family? To those of us at home? Do you really think you'll be living up to your duty to us? The people you swore you would care for and support?
Oh, Mother, why do you always put us first?
Yes, that's easy for you to say, Petra. You can support yourself if necessary. But the boys, Thomas, have you thought about them? Have you thought about yourself just a little? And what it will mean? Or of me?
I think you've come unhinged, Kathryn, if you seriously believe I would surrender to Peter and his cronies, groveling before them like a coward. No, not even if I have to spend the rest of my life in abject misery, never knowing happiness again.
I don't know about that, but I can assure you there will be no happiness left for any of us if you keep defying him. You'll be right back where you started, without a regular income, unable to provide for your family. I'd like to believe we all had enough of that in the old days. Remember what it was like, Thomas? Think about what's at stake and what it all means.
And this is what those bean counters, these pencil pushers, these desk jockeys can bring down upon a free and honest man. Isn't it disgusting, Kathryn?
Yes, without question. They have treated you with great disrespect. But God knows there's just so much injustice in this world that one must stomach. Ah, here are the boys, Thomas. Look at them. What will happen to them? Oh, no, you don't have the heart.
The boys. No, never, not even if the earth came crashing down upon our heads, would I ever bow my neck before such tyranny and oppression.
Thomas, what are you going to do?
I'm going to earn the right to look my sons in the eye when they've grown up and become free and honest men, just like their father.
May God help us all.
Our father's a good man. He's true to his heart and his principles. He'll never give up.
End of Act 2. Thank you very much for your attention. So we're going to move directly into Act 4, skipping Act 3, and this is where the audience participation part really kicks in, because we have you're the studio audience here in Times Square, and we have audiences watching all over the world on Zoom. So we ask you to participate. Come as yourselves. Respond to what's being said. Respond as you feel so moved in the town hall scene. But before we get to the town hall scene, here's what happens in Act 3. Dr. Stockman goes to the newspaper with his report, and he says, please print it. My brother's not going to do anything about the water supply, and they've had some time to think about it, and Mr. Aslaxon says, I'm sorry, we can't print your report. And then the mayor arrives with his own editorial minimizing the consequences of the report that it hasn't been released, and marginalizing it and setting it aside in the eyes of the people, and the paper decides to run that editorial. And the end of the Act 3 ends in almost like a fist fight between the two brothers. And then Dr. Stockman runs out into the world to find a place to deliver his speech directly in a town hall to the people. And no town hall will have him, no theater will have him, no space will have him. And so finally, thanks to the kindness and largesse of a local captain named Captain Horster, who isn't interested in politics, but believes in free speech, he allows and invites Dr. Stockman to deliver his report to the people of their town. So Act 4 begins with the entire community coming to Captain Horster's home. That's where we are now on the Red Steps in Captain Horster's home, and coming to hear what the doctor has to say. Before we start, I just want to remind the actors, you may want to stay even closer on your mics. I keep making the same mistake by not being as close, just so everyone in the back can hear well. It's being directly aligned with them that makes the most impact. So without further ado, I'm going to turn things over to our actors, both on the stage and in the audience, for our adaptation of Act 4 of Henrik Ibsen's An Enemy of the People.
Hey, did you bring your whistle? Yeah, I did. I never was out. You bet I did. Oh,
please just tell me what this is about. What's going on here tonight?
Dr. Stockman plans to deliver a speech against the mayor.
But the mayor's his brother?
It makes no difference. Dr. Stockman's not afraid of him.
But he's got it all wrong.
it said so in the People's Messenger today.
Yeah, he must be wrong this time. Both the Homeowners Association and the Citizens Club blocked him from speaking in their halls.
I heard they wouldn't even let him speak at the spa.
They sure as hell wouldn't.
So whose side should we be on?
Just watch Laskin and follow his lead.
Excuse me, gentlemen. Coming through. Pardon me, pardon me. Could you please let me pass? I'm reporting for the People's Messenger tonight. Thanks. Thank you very much.
You know who he is. It's that young reporter Billings who writes for Alaskan's paper.
Horster.
Captain Horster?
Hey, do you need a mic?
I did.
Okay.
It's hot. There we go. This is where I thought you could sit. That way, if anything happens, you'll be able to slip out the door over there.
Do you think there will be a disturbance tonight?
One can never tell, especially with such a large crowd. But there's no reason to worry. You'll be safe over here.
It was very kind of you to offer my husband your home as a lecture hall.
Well, seeing as no one else would,
And it was also very brave of you, Captain Horster.
Oh, I wouldn't call it brave.
Check.
Hasn't the doctor arrived yet?
He's waiting in the room over there.
Look, it's the mayor.
Yes, I'll be damned if he hasn't made an appearance after all.
Hello.
How are you, Kathryn?
Just fine, thank you. Try to keep it together, Thomas. Don't get too excited
Oh,
up
don't
there.
worry. Don't worry. Don't worry. I'll be sure to control myself this time.
Come in, sit down. Plenty of room back here.
All righty, 1/4 the hour, so I would like to begin my remarks.
But surely a moderator should be elected first.
No. I don't believe that's necessary.
Yes.
Definitely.
I second the motion to elect a moderator before proceeding.
But I called this meeting to give a lecture, Peter.
The doctor's remarks could lead to a difference of opinion.
Yes, moderator.
The voice of the people seems to call for a moderator.
All right. Let the people have their way.
I move that the mayor serve as moderator.
Bravo!
Mr. Mayor.
For reasons that are easy to understand, I'm afraid I must decline. But fortunately, we have someone here with us tonight whom I think we can all accept. I am, of course, speaking of the chairman of the Homeowners Association, Mr. Aslaksen.
Well, since my fellow citizens have chosen to invest their trust in me, I simply cannot decline.
And so, Mr. Aslaksen, publisher of the People's Messenger, was elected moderator by overwhelming cheers and raucous applause from the crowd.
And now I have been called to moderate tonight's meeting. I hope you don't mind me offering a few brief remarks before the proceedings get started. I am a modest man, a peace-loving man who holds temperance in the highest regard. Temperance and moderation in all things. Anyone who knows me knows this about me.
Yes.
Experience, chief among them is that temperance is the greatest virtue of the individual system and the citizens. And it is through temperance and moderation, too, that the general public is best served. I would therefore respectfully request that the highly esteemed fellow citizen who has called tonight's meeting to do his utmost to remain within the bounds of moderation and what is appropriate and suitable for such a convening.
Let's all raise a glass for the Temperance Society.
Oh, be quiet.
Oh, come on.
All right, now. No interruptions, ladies and gentlemen, please, no interruptions. Does anyone here wish to deliver a brief speech?
Mr. Moderator, if I may.
Mayor Stockton now has the floor.
In light of the fact of which I'm sure you're all aware, that the chief medical officer in question is my brother, I would have preferred not to say anything at all this evening, given my obvious conflicts of interest. However, I am moved as chairman of the SPA's board of directors and as someone who cares deeply about the vital interests of this town to propose a motion. I do this presuming there isn't a single citizen in this room who thinks it would be desirable for untrustworthy and exaggerated statements made about the sanitary conditions of our spa and of our town to spread out of this meeting and circulate all over the country as well as abroad.
No.
I therefore move that the chief medical officer be prohibited from delivering his proposed lecture or speech before the assembly gathered here this evening.
Prohibited? What on earth are you saying? No, okay, and I see. All right, prohibited.
Now, in my statement in the People's Messenger, I've notified the public of the fundamental facts so that well-informed citizens may easily judge the matter for themselves and form their own opinions. In it, you will see that the chief medical officer's proposal, apart from amounting to a shameful character assassination of our town's leaders, essentially calls for saddling taxpayers with an assessment of at least 100,000 crowns.
Okay, enough. Order. There will be order here tonight. Now, With your permission, I wish to second the mayor's motion, for it is also my belief that there is a hidden motive behind the doctor's agitation. He speaks out of concern for the spa, but wishes to incite a revolution in which the traditional structures of power and governance will be upended. Of course, no one here doubts the integrity of Dr. Stockman's intentions. There can be no two opinions about that. I myself believe in the people's right to self-governance, as long as it doesn't come at too great a cost to the taxpayer.
Yeah.
But in this instance, it is precisely what that would do. And that is why I'll be damned. Ooh. Pardon me. I cannot support Dr. Stockman at this time. The price of everything has its limits, even gold.
Yes.
That is my opinion.
I too feel an obligation to explain my position. At first, Dr. Stockman's agitation garnered considerable support from key stakeholders. Even I tried to support it with as much impartiality as I could muster. But as it started to become clear that we had been misled by false representations of the facts,
false representation is
not an entirely accurate representation of the facts, as the mayor's statement had demonstrated beyond doubt. I sincerely hope that no one here tonight doubts my liberal principles. The messenger's point of view on the most consequential political questions of our time is well known to you all. But over the course of my editorial career, I have learned from esteemed mentors, men of great judgment and experience, that a paper must exercise a modicum of caution when dealing with purely local matters.
I could not agree more with the speaker.
And in the matter that we are currently discussing, it is plain to see that public opinion has turned against Dr. Stockman. But I ask you, good, honest people gathered here tonight, what is the newspaper editor's greatest responsibility? The one that should come before all others? Is it not to be attuned to his readers, to operate in lockstep with them and their needs? Has he not received a tacit mandate to work tirelessly and assiduously to advance the interests of the people he serves? Or am I somehow mistaken?
No!
Please, let him speak. Let him speak.
He's right.
It has come at a considerable cost and no small amount of pain for me personally to break with a man who I considered a friend and in whose home I have been a frequent guest, a man who until this very day has enjoyed the unadulterated trust and goodwill of his fellow citizens, a man whose only or perhaps primary flaw is that he often leads with his heart rather than his head.
That's true.
We trust him.
Woo!
Love you, Dr.
But my
Stockman.
sense of beauty,
Good man.
my sense of duty to this community demanded that I break with him. And there is another factor that compels me to call him out in front of this crowd with the hope of stopping him from traveling further down the treacherous road on which he's now embarked. Concern for the well-being of his family.
Stick to the polluted water system.
Yes.
Concern for his wife and his innocent, defenseless children.
I will now put the mayor's motion up for a vote.
No, there's no need for a vote. I have no plans to report on the sickening filth down at the spa. No, tonight you will hear something very different from Dr. Stockman.
Oh, God. What now?
Hey, I'd like to say something here now. I am a tax-paying citizen in this town as well, and I have an opinion about something.
Could someone please
I'm sorry. May I?
Oh, you want that out? Come on. I'll stick that.
May I be expected? May I be permitted to speak now?
Dr. Stockman will now address the assembly.
Yes. I love you, Dr. Stockman.
Okay.
Tell the truth.
If anyone, even a few short days ago, had attempted to silence me as these men have tonight, I would have fought like a lion for my sacred, inalienable rights. But such things are of little importance to me now. because I have something more vital and urgent to speak about here this evening. For the past few days, I've been thinking deeply about a great many things. So many things that my thoughts all became scrambled and shuffled inside my head. But just as these men were speaking, I straightened them all out. And I now see clearly how everything coheres. My fellow citizens, I'm about to share with you my great revelation. I will announce my sweeping discovery, which makes the fact that our water system has been poisoned and our health spa built upon a cesspool seem completely insignificant.
Don't talk about the spa.
We don't want to hear it.
I would like to tell you about my greatest discovery, the most important contribution I have made to the study of human behavior in many years. The discovery that our spiritual waters, all the sacred rivers, springs, lakes, and tributaries within us as a people have been poisoned, and our entire society built upon an infectious, pestilence-laden bedrock of lies.
Okay.
I must object to this outrageous insinuation.
And I must admonish the Speaker for his lack of temperance and request that he show more moderation going forward, or I will be forced.
For all my life, I have loved this town. My hometown. As much as any person can love the place from which he came or in which he was raised by a boy. I left when I was still very young, but I always carried this place with me. Wherever I went in my heart. And over the years, a certain wistfulness and homesickness for what I had left behind cast a warm glow over my memory of this town and its people. But then, for many years, I lived in that little rural village in the north, far up in the backcountry. And as I got to know the people there, who were spread out seemingly at random across the stony slopes, the thought occasionally crossed my mind that these people might be better served by a veterinarian
I've
than by a
never
man like
heard
me.
such garbage in all my life.
Just a moment.
That was a grave insult to decent
a
working
moment.
class
Now, look,
people
now,
everywhere.
I don't think anyone would have blamed me if I forgot my hometown while living up there in the wilderness. But truth be told, all I did was sit around and think of this place with its immense potential. I thought and thought about you all, brooding away all my days, and then suddenly it came to me. The idea of creating a spa. After years and years of waiting, fate finally gave me the opportunity to return to my hometown. Oh, my fellow citizens, you should have seen me. I was so happy. At the time, I didn't think there was anything else I wanted more in the world except for one thing. I had this burning, indefatigable desire to be of service to this community and all the people who live here.
Well, you certainly have a strange way
And for
of
the
showing.
longest time, I went about my work joyously, serving to the best of my ability, completely in ignorance of what was happening all around me. That is, until yesterday morning. No, it was actually 2 nights ago, when my eyes were finally opened and I began to see clearly the corruption and the inexcusable stupidity of those in power.
Please, by the power vested in me.
Mr. Moderator,
It is the small-minded and petty. It is small-minded and petty to censure me over the use of a single word, Mr. Aslaxon. I only meant to say that I suddenly woke up and understood the depth of the catastrophe, the extraordinary debacle our elected officials bear responsibility for down at the spa. I simply cannot accept the authority of these so-called civic leaders. I've seen enough of them in my time to know that they're like billy goats grazing in a field of sprouting flowers. They recklessly destroy everything about them, devouring or trampling at random. They block the path of the free man in every direction, no matter where he turns. And nothing would give me greater pleasure than to exterminate them all like other rabid animals.
Mr. Moderator, Mr. Moderator, will such hateful and violent remarks be allowed to stand?
Dr. Stockman.
Why?
Dr. Stockman.
Why, I ask, has it taken me so long to see these men for what they really are, except, especially when I've had such a perfect example standing right before my eyes every single day, my brother Peter, intellectually sluggish, intolerant, bigoted, a lumbering idiot.
All right, that's enough.
Thomas.
Would somebody please?
Peter!
Hello? Please!
Get out! I've got a hot dog for you people! Get out of here!
Speak, let him speak.
Well, my fellow citizens, I've said just about everything I came to say about our town's leaders, and if any of you deduces from what I've said that I would like to take the lives of these gentlemen myself and do away with them here tonight, then you're mistaken, totally and completely mistaken. I relish the unshakable conviction that these lazy, decaying fossils of a decomposing order are planting the seeds of their own demise and slowly slitting their own throats. They're in no need of a doctor's aid in dying. And besides, they aren't the ones who pose the greatest threat to our society. No, they aren't the ones who are actively poisoning our spiritual waters, turning the ground beneath our feet into toxic sludge, the source of contagion now plaguing our land. They aren't the most dangerous enemies of truth and freedom in our society.
Who then?
Rest assured, I plan to name them all.
Yeah.
This is the great revolution that has been dawning on me these past few days. The most dangerous enemy of truth and freedom standing here among us tonight is the solid majority.
What?
That's right, it's the goddamn solid liberal majority. There, now I've said it.
Okay, I must request that the Speaker withdraw his incendiary and misguided remarks.
Never, Mr. Eslakson, never, for it is the solid majority here in this room that is robbing me of my freedom by prohibiting me from speaking the truth.
The majority always has right on its side.
Along with the truth.
And I say,
God strike me down
never.
if I'm wrong.
I say never. The majority never has right on its side. This is one of the lies at the rotting core of our society, against which all independent, free-thinking individuals must fight. I ask you this. Who composes the majority in this country? Or for any other, for that matter? Is it made up of our most brilliant minds? Or of complete imbeciles?
Come on.
I think we can all agree that throughout the world, the ignorant exponentially outnumber those with even the smallest degree of intelligence.
Hey.
And I think we can agree on that. Then please, if we can agree on that, then please tell me this. How in God's name can it ever be right or wise to be ruled by fools? Okay. Okay. Okay, sure, you can shout me down all night, but that's not that's all you can do, because none of you can refute my argument, and you know it. The majority may have might on its side, unfortunately, that's true, but not what's right. That, my fellow citizens, exclusively belongs to the minority.
You know, that's a good one. Dr. Stockman had a major revelation the day before yesterday and is transformed into an aristocrat.
I've already stated I will not waste words of the small-minded, narrow-chested, short-winded crew that's been left flailing in our wake.
What's he talking about?
The throbbing pulse of life has nothing more to do with them. No, I speak only of those few intrepid individuals who are willing to learn and grow and to embrace all the budding and ever-complexifying truths that only recently have been revealed. These rare, free-thinking individuals live on the outskirts of society, so far ahead of the curve that the solid majority has not even begun to catch up with them. And there, on the fringes, they fight for truths too new to this world to have gained any traction with the majority.
And now the doctor's become a revolutionary.
Yeah, you're damn right, Mr. Hofstad. I'm going to mount a revolution against the lie that the truth is the exclusive possession of the majority. What sort of truth does the majority stand behind? Truths so long in the tooth that they wobble on the verge of senility and decrepitude. When a truth is that advanced in age, my fellow citizens, it is well on its way to becoming a lie.
All right.
Are you serious?
Yes. No, yes, I know. Believe me or don't. It's your choice. But I'm telling you that of the many truths that society holds sacred and immutable are not the ancient redwood trees that people believe them to be. Deeply rooted, resilient, and enduring for the ages. On average, an empirically established truth lasts 17, perhaps 18, okay, maybe at most 20 years before being debunked and stood on its head. And truths such as those are always skeletal and cadaverous by the time they reach senescence. Yet it is only then that they are adopted by the majority and sold to the public as healthy, nourishing food. But I can assure you there isn't much nutritional value left in such a meal. Take my word for it as a doctor. All these majority-held truths are like last year's salted ham, which has grown moldy and rancid in the pantry. And from these truths comes all the moral botulism and scurvy that wreaks havoc on our society.
It seems to me that the honorable speaker has strayed far afield from the subject.
Yes.
I could not agree more with the moderator.
Why, I think you've gone mad, Peter. Throughout my remarks this evening, I have cleaved as close as possible to my main argument, which is simply this, that the masses, the rabid and angry mob, the God-forsaken majority, solid majority, these very men and women, they are the ones who are poisoning our moral and spiritual water supply, turning the ground beneath our feet into a festering plague sore.
And according to you, this is because the great independent majority has the good sense to wait to accept certain truths until they have been interrogated, tested, and acknowledged over time.
Ah, dear Mr. Hofstad, please don't speak of certain truths. The truths accepted today by the masses, by the vast hordes, were the truths held by revolutionaries during our grandfathers' time. Those of us who stand at the bleeding edge of truth today no longer acknowledge them. There is only one abiding universal truth, that no society can live and thrive upon such old, marrowless truths.
You know, instead of standing there and spouting all these vague and unsubstantiated statements, perhaps you could give us a few specific examples of these old, marrowless truths that we're all living on.
Right, or I could spout off countless examples from the garbage pile of ideas, but for now, I will limit myself to this one. The grotesque and repulsive lie that Mr. Hofstad, the so-called People's Messenger, and all its readers and supporters live by.
And that is?
The doctrine that you have inherited from your forefathers and continue to amplify thoughtlessly in your paper's pages, proclaiming it far and wide for all to adopt. The doctrine that the unwashed masses, the vulgar herd, the ignorant and unthinking mob constitutes the core of this country. That they are the people, and that the common man, the uneducated, uncultured, unconscious, undeveloped member of society has as much right to sanction or approve, to govern and to lead as the intellectually and spiritually sophisticated minority, the noble class of experts.
I have never heard
citizens, please take
note spoken in a public
You
setting.
lost me.
Please,
Get him out.
Please,
Oh,
be
it's too calm.
reasonable.
Get him
Be reasonable. Listen to my voice. Listen to my voice.
Calm.
I speak the truth. For once in your lives, can't you bear to hear it?
Stand
I'm not
down. Get him
asking you
out.
to agree with me
Eject
right
that
away.
man.
But I did expect that Mr. Hofstad would have my back once he came to his senses. Mr. Hofstad claims to be a free thinker.
Is that what he said?
I challenge you to prove that, Dr. Stockman. When have I said that in
No,
print?
come to think of it, I guess you are right. You've never had the honesty to say it. Certainly not in public. Don't worry, Mr. Hofstad, I won't get you in trouble. I'll be the free thinker. And now, using the methods of scientific inquiry and deduction, I will reveal to you all how the messenger is leading you shamefully by the nose when it disseminates the lie that you, the masses, the mob, the crowd, are the very core of this country. That's just what media companies say to sell papers.
Humbug.
The masses are nothing but the raw materials that our country must sculpt, carve, and mold into a true
Come on. Nothing.
But this isn't this also the case with other living creatures? Think about it. Surely you all agree that there's a major difference between cultivated and uncultivated species. Take the ordinary barn hen, for instance. How much meat is produced from such a scrawny carcass? Not a lot, I can tell you. And what kind of eggs does she lay? The average raven or crow can lay eggs that are almost as good in quality. But then compare the barn hen to a well-raised Spanish or Japanese hen or a fine pheasant or turkey, and right away you recognize the difference.
Are you really comparing us on a barn hen?
We're not animals, Doctor.
But you are. Yes, by God, we are all animals, old fellow. Like it or not, we all belong to the animal kingdom. But unfortunately, there aren't a lot of noble animals among us. Some of us walk on 2 legs, others on 4. For some, there's a great distance between us and poodles or our troglodyte ancestors. For others, not so much. And the most laughable part about this is that Mr. Hofstad agrees with me, as long as we stick to talking about 4-legged animals.
They are what they are.
Yes, indeed they are. But as soon as I apply the same analysis to 2-legged beasts, Mr. Hofstad halts in his tracks, stunned and silent. There, he no longer has the temerity to hold fast to his own opinions or believe what he purports to believe. Then he turns the entire proposition upside down and runs articles in the People's Messenger that say the barn hen and the gutter mutt are the most magnificent and resplendent specimens in the entire menagerie. You see what I mean? But that's the way it will always be, as long as the common man remains complacent and refuses to cultivate his own spiritual and intellectual transformation.
I make no claim to any sort of nobility or sophistication. I came from a long line of simple, hardworking farmers, and I'm proud that my roots run deep among the common people who have been insulted by you here tonight.
Offset! 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 Offset!
The common people I'm speaking about here tonight. The common people I'm speaking about here tonight don't just dwell among the lower rungs. No, they crawl and cluster all around us, climbing their way right to the highest stations and ranks of our society. Just look at your own well-dressed, self-satisfied mayor. My brother Peter is as common as anyone who walks on 2 feet.
All right, that's enough.
And not because he descended from some depraved old reprobate of a pirate from Pomerania or thereabouts, just as I am, for that is our lineage.
It's an old folk tale. It is completely baseless.
But because he sits there smugly thinking the thoughts of his superiors, actually believing what they claim to believe without pausing to question the validity of their opinions. People who do that are intellectually and spiritually common. And that's why my esteemed brother Peter at his core is so ordinary.
Yes, he's smugly sitting there.
So vulgar, so patently unexceptional, and consequently so narrow-minded, so deeply illiberal.
Mr. Roderick, please.
This asshole.
So the noble and exceptional people of this country are the liberals. And that's certainly a new twist on things.
Yes, precisely what I discovered earlier this week, at least in part. And this, too, flows from it, that open-mindedness and free thinking is morality. Therefore, I say it is unforgivable that the People's Messenger proclaims again and again the false doctrine that it's the masses, the crowd, the solid majority that holds an exclusive monopoly over morality. I also say that vice, corruption, and all kinds of spiritual pestilence and contagion oozes out of high society.
I thought
just
this
like
was
that
going to be a
toxic
real meeting.
slime, as we speak, is oozing down
It's
the
such
so-called
bullshit, all of
health
it.
spa from the Doerries in
Get
Building.
out of here! Shut up!
Yet the same people's messenger can go on preaching about how the masses should be elevated to higher levels of health and wellness. Health and wellness? Ah! The messenger's doctrine is true that elevating the health of masses means plunging them straight into the fiery pits of hell. It means tossing them into the sludge. But luckily it's a lie that culture and education corrupt us. Something we've inherited from past generations, but it just isn't true. In fact, it's poverty and lack of access that demoralizes us. In a house that isn't aired out or swept every day, my wife will tell you that floors ought to be mopped every day, but the jury's still out on that. Anyway, after 2 or 3 years of living in such a house, people lose the ability to think or act morally. Lack of oxygen cripples the conscience, and it seems to me there are far too many houses in this town with such tightly sealed windows the oxygen simply can't get in. Since the solid majority has zero conscience about staking the town's future on a bottomless swamp of lies and deception.
I will not stand for such baseless insults being lobbed at the entire community.
I move that the moderator order the speaker to sit down.
That's right.
If you try to silence me, I promise you this, I will shout the truth from every street corner. I will send letters to the newspapers in neighboring towns. The whole country will know what is happening here.
It seems to me that the doctor is dead set on bringing about this town's destruction.
Yes! I love my hometown so dearly that I would rather see it die than prosper upon a lie.
You should watch your words, sir.
A man who would destroy his own hometown must be an enemy of its citizens.
So what? If a town that has been built on a lie gets demolished, I say tear it down. And all those who live upon lies should be sent into exile, their homes flattened and razed to the ground. Otherwise, you'll end up contaminating the entire country, making this land uninhabitable. And should that come to pass, then I say, from the depths of my soul, that this country deserves to perish, along with its people.
Stockman, you are speaking like an enemy of the people.
There it is. There it is. I know that sound. It's the voice of the people.
He hates his country.
And a human being, I am deeply disturbed by what my ears have been accepted to this evening. Dr. Stockman has exposed himself, his true self, in ways that I never dreamed possible.
Yeah, it's on Broadway right now.
And so it is with great sadness that I must concur with the opinion just expressed by many of the admirable and praiseworthy citizens gathered in this room. I believe we should formalize and record this widely held opinion with a resolution, and I so move that this meeting declares the Chief Medical Officer of the SPA, Dr. Thomas Stockman, to be an enemy of the people.
This is an outrage.
What fool?
Please cut his microphone off. The doctor is out of order, no longer has the floor. A formal vote must be taken, but bearing in mind that many personal feelings held by individuals in this room, I suggest this be done by writing without names. Do you have any paper, Mr. Billing?
I have both blue and white right here.
That's perfect. This will be much quicker. Cut it into pieces, pass them around. Blue means no, white means yes. I'll come around personally to collect the votes.
Hey, Hofstad, what are we supposed to think? What's gotten into the doctor's head?
Well, you know the man's temper.
Hey, you've been over at his house a lot, Billing. Have you ever seen him drinking?
I don't know what to say. Yes, the whiskey's always on the table whenever anyone comes over.
No, he's not a drunk, but he may have become unglued.
I think madness runs in the family.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
No, it's just pure malice. I think it's revenge that he's after.
Well, he did ask for a pay raise a couple days ago, but it wasn't granted.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Whoa. Oh, there's a drunk again.
Oh, get rid of that drunk.
Hey, get him out of here. I would like
Get out of here. Kick him out.
And I would like a blue one. And you can't have any of my whiskey.
Get out of here.
Kick him out. I'll be right over here.
This is not justice. Come
Kick him
on.
out.
So, Stockman, I guess you see now what such monkey business accomplishes.
I have no regrets. I have done my duty.
What was that you said again about
You heard what I said about the Milldale tanneries? They are the source of the pollution. It all comes from them.
my tannery too?
Yours worst of all, I'm sorry to say.
And you were going to put that in the papers?
I refuse to whitewash any of it.
That may cost you personally, Stockman.
So, Captain Horster, you decided to lend your house to enemies of the people, eh?
It's my property. I believe I can do with it what I want.
Then you won't have any objections to my following your lead.
What are you saying, sir?
You'll be hearing from me tomorrow.
Captain Horster, wasn't that the captain of your ship?
Yes, that was Mr. Vick.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I have tabulated the votes and will announce the result by all votes but one. By all votes but one belonging to the intoxicated man. This lawful assembly of citizens declares the chief medical officer of the spa, Dr. Thomas Stockman, to be an enemy of the people.
Yeah!
Yeah! Let's hear it. And let's have a hand for our brilliant and resourceful mayor, who so selflessly and loyally set aside family ties to do what is right for his community. This meeting is adjourned.
Wait. How about a round of applause for our amazing moderator?
As I said.
Petra, my hat and jacket, please. Captain, do you have any room on your ship for passengers to the New World?
For you and your family, Doctor, I think we'll be able to make some room.
Good. Come, Kathryn. Boys, it's time to go.
Thomas, dear, don't you think we should go out the back door?
We know back doors, Kathryn. You will all hear from the enemy of the people before he shakes the dust of this town from his feet. I am not as merciful as Christ was on the cross. No, I will not say I forgive you, for you know not what you do.
Oh, that's certainly a blasphemous comparison.
I'll be damned. This is more than a serious man can handle.
He dares to threaten us on his way out.
Let's shatter his windows.
Toss him in the river.
Yeah!
Toss him.
Yeah!
That's the end of our dramatic presentation. I want to thank our amazing actors for making this work in this incredible, challenging space.
How can we get out?
I want to thank our actors out in the audience, too, from Extinction Rebellion. We have journalists with us performing. We have scientists. Thank you all for participating. We're going to transition now to bringing our actors out and our panelists up. You as an audience have exceeded all of my wildest expectations, training your attentions so beautifully on this event. I hope you'll stick around for this discussion. The actors are going to go out. I'm going to invite our panelists to come up now. If you panelists would come up over here, we'd be grateful. And as the panelists are coming up, you guys can do a stretch, ninth inning stretch or whatever it's called. And then, yeah, exactly. I know it's brutal out here on the steps. But here's the question we'd love for you to think about while our panelists are coming up and taking their seats. There's Peter. Come right on up. Come on up. Luce. Anna. So here's what we'd love for you to think about while our panelists are talking in just a second. This play was written in 1882 and performed in its own time for an audience. I don't think Ibsen ever imagined it would be performed in the Red Steps for this audience today. So what we'd love for you to think about is this. In spite of the distance of 140 years, in spite of the distance of culture and time, what spoke to you tonight? What resonated with you? What touched you in the reading? What was true? And if you wouldn't mind, so people can see after you've had a stretch, sit back down, and we're going to turn things over to our panelists. And as I mentioned, whoever makes the best eye contact gets to go first. So Connor, you've volunteered yourself, and we'll just go from this side to the other. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, speaking very closely into the mic, and then your immediate responses to the story.
Can everyone in the back hear me? Yeah, all right. My name is Connor Wade Campbell-Shield. I am currently here representing the Billy and Oyster Project. And that's what I'd like to hear. Could use a bit more cheers, but we'll take any we can get. Yeah, so I had lots of, interesting thoughts on the play, especially when it comes to water pollution. Especially, me being out on Governor's Island, always being, around the harbor, It's not exactly, the cleanest place in the world, it's no Mountain Spring. No, so I definitely connected with the doctor and the fact that, we have polluted water. There definitely comes a time where people have to take accountability and, take accountability for themselves and be able to really improve our, our water systems, our natural habitats, because, there ain't many other planets we can go to yet.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Connor. I appreciate you being first. Thank you so much. Peter.
Yeah, I'm Dr. Peter Kelmus. I am a climate scientist at NASA, always speaking on my own behalf. Wish I was speaking on behalf of more people, I guess. But yeah, I found it to be weirdly audacious with overtones of Don't Look Up. I actually took the assignment. We got an assignment. We were supposed to take notes and then notepads. I took it seriously. It was hard to stay focused on the small screen. So many distractions with these giant screens all around us. Being in the center of it all here, it's teeming with life right now. As a climate scientist, it's weirdly easy to imagine it not teeming with life anymore. So we have to start paying attention. So I found it very hard to keep paying attention with all these distractions. A couple of kind of quotes that I thought were interesting. To be called an enemy of society, right? Like, I'm just a fucking climate scientist and I'm trying to warn everybody that there's something really bad coming on a time scale that's just slow enough to kind of slip under our ability to perceive in some level, but it's coming really fast from the perspective of the time scale of this 4.5 billion-year-old planet. So it's really weird that, writing these scientific papers, writing articles, writing books, doing various things to get attention, and then, eventually switching to risking arrest, doing civil disobedience, getting more and more strident, being taken away by police and a police van, put into jail. That really feels like being an enemy of the people. But what we're doing this out of love for the earth, love for the 8 billion people on the earth, love for the redwoods and the Amazon and the coral reefs, love for our children, and taking all of these sacrifices. And it's deeply meaningful to be on the right side of history, but it's deeply weird to be arrested for that and to be led away. And I don't know, it just see what else I have here. Power and money accumulation, hoarding, concentration. Trees in the forest don't act like this. They act like a community, and I'll just end there.
Thank you so much, Peter. I really appreciate you being with us, being second. Thank you. Michelle.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Hilliard, and I'm with the Doe Fund. And, yay, Doe Fund. Doe Fund for life. And I kept thinking about, I don't know how many years ago, I don't know if many of you remember, Al Gore talked about an inconvenient truth. And even maybe 15 years before that, when he was a young congressman, this kept coming into my memory. He talked about taking care of our planet and things that we were doing that were causing harm. And a lot of people did not believe him. even though he had scientific proof that these things that we were doing to our planet was going to cause us harm. And then here we are almost 50 years later, and we're seeing all of these truths come to pass. And then you have people like Dr. Stockman, who is banging the drum. I likened him to Al Gore, banging the drum slowly and letting people know, listen, these things are causing us harm. But then you have other people who have something to gain, monetarily wise, right? And so they don't want to listen to what's going on because they have something to lose. They have skin in the game, right? They have money to lose. They have something to lose. And then these people who have something to lose have what we call those flying monkeys, right? Those are the people that, even though that they know that this is wrong and this man is telling the truth, will gang up on this one person who's trying to let people know, no, this is harmful to us. So it is our responsibility to tell the truth, even when people are telling us we are the enemy, even when people are telling us that what we're saying is untrue. Tell your truth, in spite of the flying monkeys, right? One other thing I want to mention is that the challenge for people in communities of color, right, is it's hard for them to focus on worldwide issues, right, when they're dealing with homelessness, mental illness. Yes? Do you hear me? This is what's going on. They're building luxury buildings, yes, and then there's people with mental illness laying on the side of the road, right next to these luxury buildings that are supposedly affordable housing. And I say to that, affordable to who? Right? Because the average American, the average person in these communities cannot afford to live in those luxury buildings. So it's time for us to really pay attention to what's going on in our communities and not be afraid to tell the truth, even though it's an unpopular truth. And we know that we're going to meet up with the resistance. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Anna.
Hi, everybody. I'm Anna Porzykanski. I'm also a scientist, a biodiversity scientist at the American Museum of Natural History. I'm delighted to be here. I love the play. The sentence that stayed that I wrote on my notes at the end was, "We can't build our future on lies." That's what I was thinking, you know, at the end of it. And I also noticed there were a couple of what I would call false dichotomies or illusions that are brought up in the play. One is this difference between leading with the heart and leading with the head. And I think when it comes to climate change, it's the same thing. We have to lead with the heart and the head. It points in the same direction, okay? And the other illusion that I saw is that this division between the solid majority of fools who are ignorant or perhaps otherwise trying to survive, as you mentioned, or distracted, very distracted, and those who actually might have the truth. Again, I think that's an illusion. When it comes to climate change, we all know the same truth. We know it at this point. And so what we need is the courage to act on it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Anna. Thank you. Nate.
Hi, I'm Nate Smith. I'm here with Extinction Rebellion. I'm very honored to be up here. Very honored to be with all of you and find this to be one of the strangest conversations I've ever been a part of, to be talking about our collapsing world in the center of where it's coming from. I moved to New York 2 years ago and have been a climate activist here full bore since. I've been a climate activist for years prior to that, and I know that every activist here, which there are many of at this table and in the audience that have been handcuffed quite a bit over this issue, can say that there are people that do not want us talking about this. And that is why it is not in the media every day, as it should be at the top of the news hour of every news hour or on the front page of every newspaper ever. We are in a global emergency and we are not acting like it. And this play is so tragic. Literally, it's a tragedy. The next scene in the play that we didn't see is the doctor's house getting demolished by the public. And all he's doing is trying to tell them that they're in danger. And because it's not profitable to hear that, we don't allow those truths to enter our ecosystem, this system. In my eyes, we should be having climate messaging on all of these screens. We're partially here because I protested at a Broadway play, An Enemy of the People, that's happening around the corner. And we talked in that interruption about sea level rise, and I will finish on that there is one sheet out of many, many ice sheets on our planet. One sheet, the Greenland ice sheet, that some reports say is toast. There's no saving it. That will raise the seas by 23 feet. And that is about where we're sitting right now. Our city is in grave danger. Our entire planet and everything and everyone on it is in grave danger. And we need to start acting like it now. Thank you to everybody who did what they did up here. I'm sorry I didn't anchor my message in more of the play, but thanks for being here. I look forward to hearing what you have to say.
Thank you so much. I'd love to thank these 5 panelists with a huge round of applause for getting us started. Dominic, come on up here. Actually, don't we go over here? Yeah. It's no small thing to get up in front of a community in Times Square and make such personal connections to the play and to your own work. And I just want to thank you for your candor and your courage. You have live mics, so even though my back is going to be to you, we're going to try to hear from people out here. You can come back into the conversation like the voice of God anytime you'd like, and I hope you will. But we want to hear from you all who came out here, the intrepid, even those in the comfortable chairs. All of you out here. We'll bring a mic over here as well. We want to hear from you what resonated with you now that you've heard these actors going for broke with minimal rehearsal, trying to make sense of this play from 1882. And you've heard these amazing members of your community here in New York City responding from their hearts and their heads at the same time, as Anna mentioned. In spite of the distance of culture and time, in spite of everything that separates us from Ibsen's community in Norway that this play was nominally about, what spoke to you tonight here in the Red Steps? What resonated with you in the play or in what was said afterwards? What touched you? What was true? Now, in every audience, there's always one extremely kind person. There she is right over there. Thank you so much. What resonated with you?
Okay, so I'm from the state of Florida, and I live right where Hurricane Ian hit, and I know, like, my own family, their houses were destroyed. They just now were built back after almost 2 years. And just hearing people say, like, this isn't real. It's like I've seen it in front of my eyes, and I just try to talk about it, but living in a state that is in such denial, it's so hard. So hearing, like, this play, it hits close to home because I know I've seen my family struggle with it. I struggle with it. Like, it makes me emotional to think about that these people live in such denial in the state that I live in, and anytime I talk about it, I look like I have 5 heads. Like, just with my family's houses being destroyed, it just hits so close to home, and hearing what you panelists have to say of, like, we're in the center of where it's happening, and, like, everyone's in such denial, so we need to start bringing awareness to the situation. That's all I have to say.
Thank you so much. It's great to hear from Florida and great to hear your perspective. This is a play about the human capacity for denial, I hear you saying. This is a play about our endless capacity for deferral of what's true and what's in front of us. And we see in the play people, for all kinds of reasons, denying the truth that's right in front of them. And so I appreciate you bringing Florida and your own beachfront perspective to the conversation. Yeah, right over here. Yeah, Dominic will hand you the mic.
So I was in the reading and I was in the mob, and so maybe I'm biased a little bit by that experience, but I think that it was interesting tonight because this is such a self-selecting audience. The audience was so on Stockman's side that they were not part of the crowd dynamics that are happening in the play and in the scene. They were siding with Stockman, at least at first, against the crowd. And I think that what's actually happening in this scene and what makes the show so compelling after all this time is that it dramatizes a different problem, which is not just that everyone's acting out of self-interest and the world is going to hell, which is also happening, but also that Stockman is a flawed messenger. And he makes mistakes in this scene. He doesn't express himself well. He gets angry. He starts getting very openly anti-majoritarian. He starts verging on eugenics and racism. And the crowd reacts understandably negatively because no one likes to be told that they're stupid, and nobody likes to be told that that they don't know what's in their own best interest. And I think that this is something that we on our side, I'll assume our side, this is a mistake that we make a lot, which is knowing that we're right and getting mad or annoyed or dismissive of people who don't know that we're right. So I think that's the tragedy of what happens in this scene and in the rest of the show.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Our hope had been all along that this would be a moment of both communalization. There's a deep, and Anna has talked about it in other performances with us. There's a trauma, there's a pain to knowing what's right and having it be denied. There's a pain to being marginalized. There's a pain to being arrested. There's a pain to being silenced. But then there's also a pain inflicted by Dr. Stockman in his sanctimony, in his rudeness, in his eugenics, in his racism, that's in the play, that has to be acknowledged. And that tension between how scientists and activists express themselves and how they're perceived, and the gulf that exists between those things, is something we came here to also interrogate. So I really appreciate you bringing it up and naming it. Sir, you're waiting right there, and I see a couple of hands over here. Yeah, go right ahead, sir.
Thank you very much. Yeah, what really struck me about the play is how much things haven't changed since the turn of the 19th century, in that people are scared. People are scared of losing what they have, and when threatened, when they perceive threats to their livelihood, they will ignore those threats and say they don't exist because they're afraid for their future, afraid for the future of their families. And, one thing that really, I think we need to discuss more today, what with the woman from the American Museum of Natural History discussed is that, we also have to think about how much we have to change the basic systems under which we live, in terms of GDP, in terms of growth, economic growth, and what it really means. Because, people are scared that they're not going to have enough, and they'll never have enough because the systems that provide for them are going away. And, and so we have to have some real conversations about economic justice and equity.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you bringing that into the room. There are a bunch of hands. I know we've left the board, but we have a couple people joining us on Zoom, so we're going to go to Recycle Hawaii first. Recycle Hawaii, I don't know which one you are, but what resonated with you? Go right ahead. If you're a little bit frozen, unfortunately. Go ahead. Yes.
That was a wonderful performance. And I would say that the one thing is that the uneducated masses, it's not exactly accurate anymore. I think the majority of people do recognize that we are in a serious situation. But the play does ring true, is that we don't really want to hear that truth, and we don't want to sacrifice our standards of living or make any changes like that cartoon. Who wants change? Everybody. Who wants to change? Nobody. But I would just like to say that climate change is not the only thing. It's habitat loss and lots of other critical systems that are happening. And if everyone would just look at Google Earth from satellite, you'll see the impact that humanity has had on this planet. It's overwhelming.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you joining us. Thank you for those comments. Next is Sean K. Sean K., what resonated with you? Go right ahead.
This is in our newspapers right now. Our governor decided to stop congestion pricing. This is a cave to the car culture, and us pedestrians who rely on public transit have been abandoned again. So this is not something that's far away. This is right here, right now.
Thank you so much, Sean K. Really appreciate those comments. I just want to get to one more now on Zoom, which is PK. PK, what resonated with you? Go right ahead.
Hi, I'm Chris DeJulio. Actually, it's like my name out in social media. I'm an environmental chemist. I'm also a scientist. I'm for Physicians for Social Responsibility of Pennsylvania. I love what I've heard here. One of the things I want to talk about as a scientist is the study of nature. And we are students of nature, and we are of nature as humans. So there is this disconnect that we have. Like we heard in the skit that we're not animals. Yes, we are. And so why we have to separate ourselves, it's almost that part. I kind of want to understand, like, especially from Peter out there and the other scientists on the board, like, how does it feel? I definitely feel like I've gotten arrested too. I'm standing up the way I can. It's just, when it comes to the study of nature, we are of nature, and this is what we need in order to survive. So that, to me, where did that disassociation occur? And it's kind of like we need to decolonize our mind a bit here. So I appreciate all of what you're doing. I'm also XR Philly, so thank you, XR, for what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for being with us. It's great to hear from Pennsylvania. You have a mic right there, and I believe there's a bunch of hands right here, too. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, everyone, to everyone who performed the play and everyone who came out. A few things struck me about the play, and I'll echo a few things that were said and add something. I mean, this could have been written yesterday in the issues it brought up. And messaging is so important. I'm an academic. I teach ecological ethics. Doom and gloom and scaring my students doesn't always work. It often doesn't work. And finding the fact that the play highlights that, how do you deliver the message, is so important. I want to echo that. It was mentioned earlier. How we deliver this message is so important because we need the people on board, right? This play highlights that. And the other thing is that they're profiting, and they have a vision of flourishing that's built on a foundation of lies. And we need to change GDP. We need what I call a genuine flourishing index and learn from nature how ecosystems flourish, because we are a part of those ecosystems. The fact that this play highlights that our visions of flourishing, our visions of prosperity are built on lies rings even truer today than it did back then. And we need to check those foundations and look to nature as our guide for our moral code. Thank you.
Thank you so much. There's so many things I could respond to, but one thing I hear is that there are two tragedies in this play. One is what happens to Stockman and his family, because he's trying to warn them, and he wants to avert this ecological disaster from occurring. And he ultimately, as was alluded to up there, has his windows smashed in. And in Arthur Miller's adaptation, they're coming for him and his family at the end. He sacrifices his own family on the altar of his righteousness and his desire to tell. And the other tragedy is he doesn't convey the message. And the other tragedy is they're still drinking the water at the end of, and they're still bathing in this water at the end of it. And so it's a double tragedy in a certain sense for the reasons that you outlined in your comments. There's a hand right here. I think, did you have your hand up for a while? I'm going to come to you, but go right ahead, ma'am. Go right ahead. Yeah.
Hi, I just wanted to pivot to Petra.
Please.
Because I wanted to pivot to the character of Petra, because there's been a lot of conversation about older people speaking. And one person who's not drinking the water is Petra, because she gets on the boat with her family. And I think it's really wonderful today that the crew of the Billion Oyster Project and a scientist from the Museum of Natural History and a NASA scientist came, because those are all really wonderful organizations that work with children and teenagers and future decision makers. I mean, people our age are kind of done in the we vote, but the new voters are the ones that are going to make change. And I think that that's an important part of the play that's just been overlooked by having the second and the fourth act. So I wanted to thank you for coming and for the wonderful work that you do. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You're right.
Sorry if I could just say something real quick.
Yeah, please. Go right ahead. The youngest member of the panel.
Yeah,
That's good. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. If you all are interested at any point in learning more about oysters, we have my wonderful coworker Ashley over here working, and we are open and give out tours every Wednesday through Sunday on Governor's Island. pull out. It's both the coolest part in the city, but also quite literally the coolest part in the city. So it's a bit colder out there than, you know, it is up here.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Ma'am, you've been waiting.
Thank you, everybody, for the great performance and your comments. I'm from Montana, so we get hit with the forest fires every season, and similar to the person that spoke from Florida, living in these very conservative communities where, unfortunately, scientists are viewed as elites, and as people who talk down to the common people, and who are wrapped up in the liberal establishment. And I've just found it's so important to contextualize these issues in like the specific communities where they're happening and what is going on, like in Montana, talking about forest fires rather than talking about, you know, the liberal agenda, which is unfortunately been politicized with climate change. And I feel like people who because a recognition that climate change is real for many of these people is a recognition that they have been living on a lie, and like that's a really, really hard and like deep thing to come to terms with. And anyway, I just felt like that was kind of what I responded to, having grown up in a very conservative community.
Brian, can I add something? Can I add something real quick?
Yeah.
I mean, I do want to say that to the gentleman over there who said the play could have been written today, yes and no. Because we have so many solutions right now and responses at our fingertips and really kind of emerging. And it's like we're so close to, I think, you know, making a real change that is very fundamental that could happen. And so I think if we message instead of fear and doom and gloom, if we message about the incredible benefits and the more just and enjoyable and hopeful future that we could have by responding to biodiversity loss and climate change, I think we would get a lot more people on board.
Thank you. I really appreciate you broadening that. Also, to the point about, I see your hand in the back, conservative audiences. The last place where we performed was in rural Ohio, in a county that voted 75% for Trump. And the chorus was a different chorus. And the mayor, person who played the mayor wasn't Bill Murray, it was a Republican mayor in that town. And he wore his suit, and someone was watching, and they said, why was only the guy playing the mayor wearing a costume? And it was his normal clothes. But I mention it because when people were leaving the space, many, many conservative people came up to us afterwards, tears in their eyes, shaking our hands and saying, this was amazing. It felt good, so good to be invited to be part of the conversation. I think we need new forms, because Montana, Ohio, you know, I don't mean to lump them all together in any way, but in Ohio, I felt like we had a connection there because the play doesn't ask us to agree. The play invites us all to interpret it, and we can all interpret the play. We all have a right to interpret the play, even if we radically disagree with each other's interpretations. We need forms that can hold the interpretations in the room, and also the hyper-local conversation where people's culture and experience are respected in the conversation. So I appreciate you bringing us through. There's a gentleman in the reserve section down there. We wanted to hear from you. I'm so glad you're speaking. Over to you.
Hi, thanks so much. First, want to say it's incredibly intimidating to be standing behind like all these legendary actors who did such an amazing job today. So that's like, come on. One thing that Michelle on the panel said that really resonated with me was like the fact that if you're coming from a community where you're not sure if you can put food on the table, right? You're not sure where you're gonna sleep that night, you know? The environment is not going to be your number one concern, right? And something that in the play, right, and that we hear to this day is there's this tension between, and what so many people here have said in the Red Steps is that there's this tension between economic issues and the environmental issues. And that is, of course, 100% true. But there's also an opportunity here, right? There's an opportunity for training programs, for things for green jobs, right? For solar panel installation and all sorts of things that you can use as workforce development, right? For people for people who don't have the same economic opportunities, right, as some of the folks who may be here. And so, you know, I just want to say, I know there are a lot of great organizations that are doing that work, and we may want to think about how can we blend these two things, right, to make it a more palatable sell, right, for folks who would otherwise be some of the communities that we just talked about in the previous question who may be reticent to support environmental causes. Like, where is the social enterprise component to it? But yeah, thanks for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for what you offered. Sir, you had your hand up for some time.
Yeah. Yeah, can you hear me now? Okay, so, well, first of all, I really enjoyed the play. So, I really enjoyed the play. So the thing is about what happened was that I'm sorry I couldn't hear because I'm all the way back because my back was because I felt too uncomfortable sitting back there. So what I did think is back in 1882. I'm gonna say it. Hold on a second. Hold on. Okay, they saying about the light, the demanding. Since what was going on happened was 1882 with the global conversation about climate change challenging. They just don't want to have any climate change. They just want climate justice immediately. So the thing is that about this. Before they have won, they need to, or they don't vote. This is why that they don't vote against fossil fuels. We need all we need is that we have to get climate change immediately. So that's why what happened was a change Spain. This is why this morning. When we went to the Chase Bank, we had 27 people got arrested. They just want end fossil fuels immediately. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate everything you said. And I think I heard what you were saying about the play and the format of the play. One of the things I was thinking about is, why do we need a play to have this conversation? And I was thinking about how there are so many people in this audience who are putting themselves on the line every day to start conversations like this one all the time, but I'm grateful for everyone here and for their contributions. Yes, thank you so much, sir. Down here.
Thanks. All right. A few random thoughts. First, I found it interesting that I don't think any of the protagonists drank the water. So no one drank the water. But, all right, that's one. Two, Bryan, yeah. I was on Zoom for the other performance in Ohio.
Yes.
For the political
view
and the lens on this. So first I want to say thank you. I think you do an incredible job of holding the space here.
Thank you.
For all opinions and all views and for everything you do through Theater of War.
Thank you so much.
Something struck me then, and it struck me now as well, related to climate change, and that was the very individual sort of take that everybody had. And I think one of our scientists had said earlier, trees are a community. And everybody here had their own idea, their voice, which was good. Everyone's voice was heard, but no one seemed to listen to each other. And I don't know if that was driven by fear, as one of our other scientists said, right? Fear of annihilation, fear of being discovered that we're not right, that there is no one right, other than maybe a common good that everybody seemed to struggle with in this play, and never really making any connection with each other to be able to have a voice and stand up as one voice. Yeah. It was many different voices, but that is what that one voice needs. But with that connection that I really felt was lacking here, and also in that political forum sense where you have a lot of talking heads.
Yes, absolutely. We wanted to start this year in 2024 with a crowd scene that was so loud and so cacophonous. I mean, here we don't even have to do the scene because it's so loud and so cacophonous, but where how divided and disparate those voices are, how overlaid, how ununified could be felt and heard in a visceral way. So we could interrogate. You know, we have people in the crowd shouting vile things at the doctor, and they have doctors saying vile things back at the crowd, and to his brother and to each other. So what happens when no one's listening? And this is a family drama. This is a drama about brothers. This is a drama about how a single family comes apart at the seams and is destroyed, but that single family becomes emblematic and deeply connected to the health of the community. So it starts at the family level. How do we hear each other, even if we radically disagree? How do we respect each other's positions and message ours in a way that they can be heard? And how do we begin to speak, if not in unison, with respect for the silence between each other's statements so we can hear what we're saying? Avery, you look like you have something to say. You don't? Okay, your hand. There's a hand right there. Yeah, please, go right ahead. Yeah.
I just have to say something very, very serious. We are officially 90 seconds before midnight on every question, and in particular this question. And the reason is that we are living under a capitalist system. Fossil fuel use is growing. It's not going to go back under this system. And this is one reason why people are so stupid, is because they're lied to systematically by the major media. You know, I watch these messages all night. My God, it's unbelievable what they're lying about. Did people see the anti-Gaza message? I mean, really, this is a system that is not going to be voted out. Biden is just as goddamn awful around this as in many ways as Trump. You cannot, and it's very sad because there are the solutions. What the people said, that, it makes me cry. There are ways to solve this, but you can't solve it with a mode of production that has profit and command, and it is very, very late. I just want to say, I hate to be the Grim Reaper, but there is a way out. From Revolution Books. We have a plan for how you could actually make a revolution under this very, very late hour, and among people who seem to be dead to it. That could change very fast. We saw what happened on the campuses in about 2 weeks around Gaza, and that is our only hope, honestly. And come to Revolution Books. We're in Harlem. And I hope people will act. It is very late, and it's still possible.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your perspective and your message. There's two people in the section down here. Someone apparently in a plaid shirt. Yeah, right there. Go right ahead. Yes.
I think it's flannel. But
flannel. It was just a text I got. So go ahead.
I want to first thank everyone for showing up, everyone here for showing up. You all did a fantastic job. I am not a climate scientist. I am barely an activist. By that, I mean I may post on Instagram sometimes. But one of the things that really struck me, I think has been talked about a little bit, but the doc's wife has that whole speech where she's like, what about our kids? What about it? We can talk about the climate, and we can do that. I'm not qualified to do that. I think about the humans behind it, and I think about my best friend is a climate activist, and he lays up at night trying to find a way to get this message out there, and the part that I take away is how much is at stake for somebody who stands up and puts a mic in their hand and says something. The doc, his wife is talking about, like, look, you're going to lose your job, you're going to lose the money, your kids aren't going to be able to eat, and it seems like a hyperbole, but it's actually really truthful, and it's really scary. And I want to just give a big shout out, especially to somebody who, I don't know who you work for, but she mentioned certain communities that are alienated and ostracized and not put in a position to have the luxury to think or talk about these issues or research these issues. I think George Carlin says it doesn't take a formal meeting of interest to form a conspiracy, but there is a general there's a general conspiracy going on that makes sure that the masses are uneducated enough to, and also not have the resources in order to fight something like this. And I just want to respect every single activist who was in the audience, every single activist who you see, the disruption for the Enemy of the People on Broadway showed up on my Instagram today, and I couldn't help but thinking of that like liberal duality, which is like, oh, we attend these shows, we put our money towards this thing, and we're aware of it, but then the same people were booing and spitting at the people who are showing up, exercising their First Amendment right to speak against this type of thing. And I just want to give a big round of applause in my mind and maybe out here for all the activists who are on the stage and in the audience who are, and even the people who showed up, the artists who showed up, that's a type of activism, to just speak and give voice to this issue. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for your perspective. Michelle, go ahead. And then we'll go over here, and then we'll go over to Anthony after you. So go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the remarks. My name is Michelle again, and I'm with the Doe Fund. And I do want to share a bit of hope. We are a program, right, that houses homeless people, right? But we train them, right? And we're training them. We have a new program coming up in HVAC. Now, I don't know if anybody's aware. You're probably aware that there's a lot of green initiatives going on. A lot of new buildings that are going up are going to have to be in compliance with those initiatives. And we are able, right, because of the leadership of the Doe Fund, are able to now train these guys coming into this program in the HVAC and hopefully get them certified in G-Pro. So there's some good stuff going on. And I don't want people to think that, oh, it's a hopeless situation and there's nothing we can do. If each person just does a little bit, we can get it done.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Yeah, go right ahead.
I'm so glad you just said that, because I was just going to say something about hope, right? So one of the things that I was really struck with was, I don't know if you guys sided with the doctor in the beginning, and I was like, yeah, go. And then he got into some problematic territory, and I wasn't sure if we should support the doctor or not. And as people were shouting enemy of the people, I kept thinking, well, what is the true enemy of the people? Is it us? Is it a way of thinking? And I kind of came to the conclusion, and maybe it might change for the next day, that I think that the sense of hopelessness and powerlessness is an enemy of the people, and that when we adopt that kind of mentality, and the mentality that it's either our way or destruction, that we need to be on the alert and vigilant in our own behavior and our own mindset for that.
Thank you so much. Before we go over there to Anthony, I just want to acknowledge I'm always waiting for someone. We do tragedies sometimes 7 nights a week, so I'm always waiting for someone to bring up hope. Where's the hope in tragedy? And I hear you saying the enemy of the people isn't us, it isn't them. It's hopelessness. It's apathy. It's giving up. So I say that the hope isn't in the play. This is a tragedy on many levels. The hope is in the audience that comes together to bear witness to the truth of what the play is saying to us now on June 12th, 2024 in Times Square. And so I appreciate you bringing hope into the conversation, because it's such a critical, much more powerful than fossil fuels and pushing us forward into action and to more conversations like this. Anthony, you've been waiting for some time over there. To you.
Thanks, Bryan. Thanks, as always, a great production, and to everyone here, did a great job. But as a labor leader, I'm going to voice an unpopular opinion here. I was part of the consortium that had to advocate for the killing of congestion pricing. And I will tell you why. I myself would like congestion pricing. I see the benefits in it. I've been places where I've seen how this can work. The people I represent, who are government employees who work EMS, did not want it, not because of the extra cost. The number one concern that was expressed to me as a representative of them, I don't trust the government to do what's right with the money. They thought that the money would be embezzled or corrupted. There's no faith. As government employees, there's no faith in the government we are working for. It's not the extra cost, because we would benefit from it. We understand the benefits of it. It's that they would. We have worked. I myself have worked over 20 years in New York City 911, and I've gone into homes and have seen abject poverty and homelessness, and hopelessness and homelessness, and I've seen government structures that were put in place to help fail. Not only fail the people we are helping, but fail the helpers. And so the people who are working for the city, who went and advocated for this, had enough. Just like in the play, the people are saying, listen, it's going to inconvenience me. I like the spa. I don't want to raise my taxes. Even though they know it would benefit them.
Yeah.
To fix this, people have no faith in the systems anymore. And now there's a product in government at the moment where a Trumpian-like effect where that's done on purpose, but it's also very tangible because I've witnessed it. No matter who's in charge, I've seen the systems fail, and I would like to have hope someday, to dovetail on what Bryan said, that we can come together and hold people accountable so that I can go to the members and say, here's congestion pricing, and here's the thing we're getting for it, and point to it. I couldn't point to anything. So I had to advocate for the killing of a policy that I personally would like to see in place.
Thank you, Anthony. I really appreciate you sharing your perspective. Anthony is a lieutenant in the FDNY EMS union. He also, at the height of COVID, was responding to up to 13 cardiac arrests a day in New York City, and then would join us on Zoom performances from his ambulance, from his place of work, and tell us what he was seeing on the ground. And we're grateful to everything you do for our city, Anthony. But I appreciate also what you're saying. One of the responses we got in Ohio, we did an open rehearsal in Ohio. We invited the community to see it. He raised his hand during the discussion. I said, oh, I see this. I know what this is. Didn't resonate with me. This is my reality. I have no faith in our institutions. And I appreciate you naming that, because that's something we have to rebuild. We have to build institutions that have people have faith in order to affect change. We can't simply tear them down, whether you're on the left or the right, or somewhere in between. So I really appreciate you bringing that into the room, even though we're talking about something very painful when it comes to congestion pricing. And it's great to be able to hold all the perspectives in this space. There's a hand over here, and then we'll go to maybe one other person. I know there's other people who want to speak, but we want to respect the fact that the people on the steps have been on these very hard steps for a very long time. We're going to go to one more person who has something burning within them to say, and then there'll be an opportunity after a quick benediction to stick around for just a couple more minutes to participate in a collective action that I promise will not be lawless or destructive. It will be constructive and unifying. Over to you. Yeah, please.
So
Yeah,
I'm actually really glad I'm following this, because my what I wanted to respond to was, you mentioned like the gap in the play between like the people and who's in charge, essentially. I think one thing I've noticed is that sort of like where I see a lot of complacency in this is, sorry, I'm very easily distracted. One thing I've noticed is a lot of complacency, because people, like, for example, congestion pricing, I've talked to Uber drivers, the burden is put on people who are already hurting. The congestion pricing is hurting people who are already hurting financially. And where the burden should be put is corporations that have money that could be reducing, their emissions. We also, things like Bitcoin, we're not talking about how horrible that is for the environment, and people are making millions of dollars. They can afford to change things, but congestion pricing puts the burden on the average person. And one thing I really wanted to talk about in terms of like faith in our organizations, I just graduated from the Newmark School of Journalism down the street, and I'm really thinking about, how does journalism play a role in this discussion? Because in the play, there isn't media bridging that gap. There's no media, and that's what our job is supposed to be, bridging that gap. But so many people assume that media, it's automatically it's liberal. And I was very fortunate recently to visit a couple of radio stations in the South that are doing really good journalism on rising waters because it's directly affecting them. So I'm curious, and I'm also curious what Nate thinks of this, given that he just had a lot of press attention about what you did at the play, which was amazing. How can I, as a journalist, do my job better to bridge that gap?
I'm really glad you brought journalism in. If we had more time, we would be definitely expanding in that direction. So I was waiting for a journalist to speak. We had several journalists in the chorus who's joined our chorus, as well as Peter Marks, who was in the play, who was a chief theater critic of the Washington Post until he joined our circus. And on his own dime went to Ohio and then graduated to playing Morton Kill. So you could join our circus. That's one thing you could do. You could become an actor with Theater of War Productions. But I think in the play, there's a really powerful critique of the challenges of journalistic integrity, just like the challenges of governmental integrity, just like the challenges of, all of the other types of institutions that are being represented when there are inside a corporate democracy. And that's what scares me about both Anthony's comment and your question, because I think the thing that runs through this play, maybe even more so than questions about environmentalism or public health, is a critique of democracy itself and a critique of corporate democracy as a system. And we have to interrogate it. We hear people interrogating it. And the financial interests of journalists and the media, journalists didn't create the economic conditions in which they're working or the corporations which employ them, but they're complicit in a system that is for profit for the most part. And then, of course, there are others that aren't. Radio is very nonprofit. We work at WNYC. Our next performance, by the way, shameless plug, in New York is next Thursday at WNYC on the war in Ukraine called Conversations During Air Raid Sirens. We work with WNYC all the time. So I appreciate the question at the Green Space, which is downtown in Tribeca on Charlton Street. And you can tune in on Zoom. We have unlimited room on Zoom. There's someone in a jean jacket who was waiting in the reserve section over here. Has she left? No, she's here. Yeah, no pressure, Zainab, to sum everything up into one perfect statement, but you're going to have the last word, having flown all the way here from Turkey to be part of this conversation.
Yeah, too much pressure, yes. Yeah, I'm coming from Turkey, and I'm very, very happy to be here and to see. Actually, the play hit me very much because I'm teaching in a university in Turkey on civic involvement, and I'm just trying to teach young people to be brave, to talk about the truth. And I think it's a tragedy itself that we still need to teach people to be brave, to talk about what they see. So I'm very happy that there's a platform like this, that everyone can be brave to see and to talk about whatever they want. So thank you for everyone who participated. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Zainab. That is a beautiful last word. We didn't come here to tie a bow on the conversation. There's no way we could. There's so many loose threads that we have to keep following. But here's the quick benediction at the end of our performance before I thank the panelists and the actors and turn things over to Yana from Extinction Rebellion to lead us through one final moment together tonight. If you related to anything that we said, both on the stage or in the audience here tonight in Times Square, know this: you are not alone in this space we've created together. You're not alone across the country and the world, as evidenced by the people who've been tuning in the thousands on Zoom and participating in the conversation with us. Most critically, you're not alone across time. This play set 140 years ago. It could be today, and that can bring solace, and that can also bring great anguish. So after an early performance of one of our projects, someone stood up and said, I said, why do you think the playwright wrote the play? And this individual stood up and said, I think he wrote the play to comfort the afflicted and to afflict the comfortable. And I know we afflicted many people here sitting on the red steps, but it was more than that. Comfort that we can come together across disparate experiences, activists, scientists, journalists, concerned citizens, conservative people, people on the left, labor people, journalists. Comfort that we can come together through a story and make connections. Comfort that we can hold a space together for close to 3 hours in the midst of this chaos, in this temple of capitalism, in the center of New York City, in the center of the world. And afflicted by the reality that there is so much more work to be done to avert the tragedy that's unfolding before us, both in our own communities, like in the play, and in our world, afflicted not with a hopelessness, but I hope afflicted with a new sense of energy and resolve, a sense of community and compassion to move out of this space and to act upon in powerful ways the things we talked about here today. And with that, before we close out, I want to thank, and I'm not going to fully close out, I want to thank the panelists and our amazing actors with one last round of applause. And I want to thank Extinction Rebellion for the invitation to collaborate. It's been an immense pleasure. With that, I'm going to turn things over to Yana from Extinction Rebellion. I also want to thank Marjolaine Goldsmith for making this all happen behind the scenes. Without her, none of this would have happened. I'm going to turn things over to Yana, who's going to invite those of you who want to stay for just a few more minutes to participate in the unfolding of a, well, I don't want to steal your fire, but a collective action that you won't get arrested for, I don't think. No. And after the collective action, or before it, if you decide to leave, we encourage you to engage with these 6 organizations out here about learning how to get involved with them and go deeper if you were moved or motivated by tonight's conversation. Yana, over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Theater of War. Thank you, Times Square. Thank you, audience who's here. We're so glad you're here. So, if you're here, we're about to unfurl a banner over the whole steps, and we'd like your help with that. If you don't want to be underneath a banner, we ask that you exit the steps just for a little moment. You can come back. But those of you who want to be part of this banner unfurling, we have a giant cloth that will cover the stairs to be as if the ocean is covering the stairs, because the water is rising. And so we're about to do this action, and we welcome you to participate with it. And it'll be about 5 minutes, and it'll be done. So if you want to not be underneath a banner, please make your way off the stairs. And those of you in the back, if you want to hold the back, we'll let the people leave first who want to. And thank you all so much for holding this space. The idea with the banner is that it will be taught and then it'll be let to rest on you. And then we'll pass it all forward. I'll be standing here talking our whole way through it. We have a camera up in one of the buildings to get a crowd shot of everybody. So you can be, let's sit for now, and then later it'll be fun to stand up under it. But yes. If you're staying, have a seat. If you're leaving, please go to the side because the banner is coming, friends. Thank you. So here comes, the people on the back will hold the back edge, and the banner is coming. For the people in the back there, a banner is about to come over you. Okay, we'll pause for a moment as people try to exit. Thank you, friends. Okay, so here comes the banner. It's all going to happen very quickly, so if you all could just, if you want to be in it, have a seat. Yeah. Okay, here comes the banner. So you're seated, it's going to come over you. If you're not seated, please step to the side. Those of you who are standing up, please have a seat or step to the side now, please. One side or down would be great. Thank you, and you're sitting under this banner. You're beautiful. We appreciate you. You can reach your arms up and help it pass over your heads. And we're bringing it down. Okay. Let's bring it even further down. Those on the top row, take a few steps down. Okay. We're going to take another step or two down if you can. Here, can we hold it taut? So we're going to hold it taut and pull it taut to figure out how big it is. Can you take one more step down, those of you on the top? You guys are gorgeous underneath. Just saying, you're gorgeous. Okay? So we're great. We're going to hold it and not billow it for a moment. Then we'll get to billow it after.
You guys are gorgeous. Those of you below, it says, learn to swim. So, we got it? Hold on. You're all amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you all for being part of this, for the show, and for this banner shot. We appreciate you.
Yeah, we're good on this shot.
Okay, so now we're going to lower it on you and you can billow it. Okay? And we're going to take another picture. So you can let it be untaught. Great. The video? Are they? Okay. Gorgeous, everybody. Tell me. We got it? Okay. Do you want it dropped on you just to see what that feels like? Okay, we're going to lower the banner on the people seated. So if you're holding the banner, just let it lower on the people. Please let go of the banner up there. Thank you all for being under the ocean. Okay, if you're in front, just pull it down over you. You can let it down a little. Okay, you got it? Okay, great. Now we're going to pass it down to the front. So we'll just, can those of you who are pulling it, we're going to pull it down, and you're all passing it. Thank you all. And we'll just, and we can, oh, that was fun. Cool, and we can, here it comes, everybody. Thank you all. Extinction. Thank you. We're all in this together. Thank you, friends. We're just going to move it and we're then going to roll it. It can be here. Thank you, friends. Thank you.